You are now listening to the highlight reel builder for authors, the Going North podcast. I'm your host, certified self-leadership trainer and author of the best-selling book, Stay the Course, Dom Brightman. And you're going to be getting some goodies today from the guest that's up next. How's it going, my friend? I'm so glad you're tuning into the Going North podcast because I have some great news, folks. The show now has some wonderful merchandise, so check out the wonderful link in the show notes to tpublic.com/stores/Dom-Brightman and click on that link to cop some wonderful gear based off of my wonderful tagline, advance others to advance yourself, because we got it in t-shirt form, hoodie form, and you can choose whichever color you like. So if you want to get it in pink, green, black, white, blue, yellow, red, we got you covered for the whole rainbow, especially for t-shirts and hoodies and everything else. So check it out all in the show notes and rock this gear. Heck, even take a picture of this wonderful gear, shoot it to yours truly, and I'll post it on my social media and tag you officially as well as one of the fans of the show, and you'll definitely get a shout out during one of the episodes in the future. So definitely click in the show notes, cop some merchandise, support the show, and let the world know that you have an abundance mentality of advancement. Now let's get on with the show, and I'll say it now since I might not say it in the ending credits. Advance others to advance yourself. And today on the highlight reel builder for authors known as G&P, the great, glorious, and glamorous, it's the Going North podcast. And in one of the words of one of my favorite video game characters, Big Smoke, it's time to return the favor, baby, because it's a host-to-host special. That's right, folks. Switch your mics and positions. It's a mic takeover, baby, because this wonderful lady had me on her wonderful show, drop us some shiny gems of knowledge, and today she's back on the opposite side of the mic, ready to drop some inspiration, information, motivation in your ears, y'all. That's right, in all your ears. That's right, both of them. Maybe three of them if you're from outer space, but it's okay, all two of your ears, because today's guest in particular, creative content writer, self-development advocate, visionary, inclusion and diversity enthusiast, firecracker, that's right, folks, don't have to wait till the 4th of July, and a force to be reckoned with. So let's give it up for a fellow Christian podcast host and super special awesome human, Ms. G.A.K. herself, Ms. Genesis Amaris Kemp. How you doing today, Genesis?
I am doing well, Dom. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I look forward to diving into today's segment and dropping some gems for your audience.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right indeed. Gonna be chocolate hour, too sweet to be sour, y'all. That's right. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. So my goodness, as you know, with all introductions, they're not allowed to be 50 days long, or listeners want to send in a bunch of invoices. So mind filling in any cavities I may have missed about you, Genesis?
So I'm not necessarily going to call them cavities, but so a little bit of because cavities aren't a good thing if you're talking to kids because no one likes to get their cavities filled because that hurts. So a little bit about me. I am the author of Chocolate Drop in Corporate America, From the Pit to the Palace. Prior to my entrepreneurship journey, I spent 15 years in corporate America, 12 years in oil and gas and energy. And now I help people, really come into their full self by knowing what their purpose is while here on earth. So I do that via coaching. So I am a visionary life coach and I help people work on those mindset issues because if you don't, you're not going to be able to progress further in life because you may have beliefs that are holding you back. You may hear all that negative chatter in your head going back and forth about, good things versus bad things, or should I do this versus that? When in actuality, you already have the tools and resources that you need to be great. You just need to tap into them and take action today to secure a better future. And I'm also the podcast host of Gems with Genesis Amaris Kemp. That's a little bit about me, but you'll find out more throughout this episode. So let's jump in, Dom.
Ah, yeah, that's right. Jumping in with pogo sticks, indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Yes, it is. My goodness, chocolate drop, y'all. That's right, a magical chocolate drop, y'all. That's right. It ain't no drip, it's a whole drop, y'all. From the pit to the palace, indeed. So, my goodness, that has a Christian tone to it, and I love it. So, for those who may not know your backstory, like, how did you become a lady of faith?
So, going through life circumstances, I grew up in a religious as well as a spiritual household where my parents always instill who God was and what Christ was to us, and how each one of us was created as a masterpiece. And a lot of people may not grow up in a home similar to that. And they really talked about forgiveness, grace, favor, mercy, and so many other things. We really just went through that. And then whenever I became an adult, I questioned certain things because there was a person that was really close to me that died at a young age. And I said, man, if God really loves us, why does he take away the good and leave the bad still roaming here on earth? And I think that's a fair question because a lot of people have questions and they're like, if God loves me, why am I going through this? Like, why did I lose my job? Why did a loved one die? Why did I lose my pet? And you have these whys when in actuality, you may not always understand why something happens to you until you go through life and you pass the test. And that mess turns into your message, or that test turns into your testimony because you begin to figure out all the pieces and you see how the pieces of the puzzle fit together perfectly to create a masterpiece. So in 2009, when I got in a major car accident, and they told me that it was a miracle that I survived because my car spun around 3 times, hit the concrete pillar, my glasses flew off my face, my car was pretty much total. You could see wires hanging down and everything. And then after that, I went to therapy for 3 months, and it was hard. But you know what? I was so grateful that someone saved me, and that someone was God because the way my car looked, it was like, oh my gosh. And that's that in a nutshell.
Yeah, so we have more in common than I thought. My goodness, that's right. 2009 car accident. My goodness, like, wow. Funny enough, that was actually 3 years before mine in 2012. So my goodness, it's kind of interesting how a lot of folks, like, especially those who've published books and came out of some setbacks, usually have a car accident story. It's kind of like, hey, if you're in a car accident and you live, that means you're gonna be great. That's right, you're gonna be great. And I guess you can't spell Genesis without great, right?
Yep, because there's the G in great, G in Genesis, and Genesis is also the beginning.
Yes, right at the beginning of something freaking fabulous. So, with all this wonderful good stuff, indeed, my goodness, like now you're in this full time entrepreneurial space. And funny enough, if I'm not mistaken, you wanted to be a pediatrician at one point, right?
I did. That was, my goal when I was a kid. I told everyone, yeah, I want to work with kids. I love kids. And then after I lost my job from this cancer center I was working into, I needed to find another job. And I mean like ASAP because I was doing a co-op program and that was part of the requirements. In order to be in co-op, you have to have a job. So that's whenever I fell into oil and gas and got involved in it in 2009 and was in it until February 2021.
Ah, so what inspired the jump? Because if I'm not mistaken, 2020 with the whole George Floyd situation, they finally gave you a 20% raise and caved in, even though you deserved that money years ago, if I'm not mistaken. So, what made you decide to make the jump?
So it was actually the jump was kind of made for me because in 2020, that was around the time that my dad had got sick. My dad ended up passing away at the end of 2020. And then 1 week after my dad passed away, I found out that I was being laid off. And I felt like I was only being laid off because I spoke out in the vice president's meeting. And I felt like that was the only thing that they could probably do because I worked in global supply chain. I have a supply chain degree, and I was the only one working on this proprietary project where I started it from the ground up. So everything on paper checked off. The only thing that did not check off was me standing up and talking about my stance with personal and professional racism whenever the vice president asked me the question. And when I responded with my answer that gave me a $20,000 salary increase. And then I got a bump in my classification level where I went from a 15 to a 22. But while I was in that role, I was underpaid in comparison to my colleagues. I was the only melanated African American chocolate drop person on my team. And then I was the only one that was laid off from my team.
No.
So
Wow.
I say that to say, was it something I did? Maybe. Was it something that I didn't do? Maybe. I would never know, but I do believe that everything in life happens for a reason. And sometimes doors are forced shut in order for you to really move into something that you wanted to move into, but you were dragging your feet. And some people who are spiritual, maybe they'll say that's disobedience. Maybe God was prompting me all along, but it was me in the flesh who was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to wait until I have X amount of money build up to start my business or all of these things. And that goes into why I coach on mindset, because I'm not coaching you on stuff that I haven't been through. I'm coaching you on things that I've been through, that I've walked through.
Yeah, it's a day. Preach today. Preach today. Funny enough, actually, I think it's today at the time of this recording. Sherry Sterling Fernandez's episode went live where she actually is in her 60s and she finally decided to publish a book that took her in her mind 40 years to write because she wanted to be the person who's living the message that she's living now, because a lot of folks they kind of want to hold they kind of want to teach after being in a weekend seminar, maybe read one book and then teach it for like ever, when it's like, I mean, not everybody could be a Tony Robbins, but there still have to be some kind of life experience to really strengthen your resolve and strengthen the stuff that you're teaching from, because like there's a huge difference between a person who's actually lived out what they're teaching as opposed to somebody who's just trying to make a buck.
Yes, for sure. I could resonate with that because I feel like sometimes people see, oh, dollar signs, dollar signs, dollar sign, and they may not actually care of the result that someone on the opposite end is getting, as long as their pockets are getting fatter with money. And then, you know, then they leave that person. Whereas whenever you're really helping a person when it comes to life, how can you help somebody on life if you haven't been through life or experienced something? Are you just selling them pipe dreams to make your pockets and your bank account fatter, or do you actually care about that person as an individual and you're going to do what you need to help that person get unstuck so they can live their life and fulfill all of their dreams and no longer have their dreams just be dreams, but turn them into realities?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. That's what I'm talking about. Indeed. So, what do folks get wrong about mindset coaching? Because there's a lot of talk about mindset nowadays, and there's even some folks that say, you know what, it's about the heart set. Got to get your heart right first. So, do you feel like there's something that needs to be fixed about the whole mindset coaching thing that you've been helping your clients with?
So I don't like to compare what I do in light of what other coaches done because I haven't sat in their training, but I can tell you that I have a coach because every great coach should have a coach. So when I work with people on mindset, I really ask them to go deep. And when ask them to go deep, it's because I'm doing a RCA with that individual, a root cause analysis, because everyone's story is different. So I have 10 mindset hacks that I go over. And then based on those mindset hacks that I go over, and that's a freebie that I give. Everything else after that is going to be paid because I'm like, don't just pick my brain for free, pick a price package, as one of my mentors said. Because so many times people just want to pick your brain for free, but they don't want to pay you. And that is your time, your experiences, your resources, and etc. And that's why you have so many people that are, building up resentment because they're doing all this incredible thing and they feel like people are getting results, but that person is not even saying thank you, is not even offering them anything in return. They're like, oh, I got what I needed. Now on to the next. And that's where you have the crabs in the barrel mentality. So if you want to talk about the mindsets, I could share it here with you and if anyone's interested in going deeper, they could set up a coaching call with me or we could do a 15 to 30-minute consultation. So I could walk through that. Are you interested in that, Dom? or you were just generally asking?
Oh, yeah. Go on ahead. Walk us through the sandy beach of the mindset hacks.
Wow. Okay. So
Didn't see that one coming, did you?
no. Okay, so mindset issues is what you call it. So put your mind in the state of this and ask yourself, have you ever told yourself these 10 statements? Because if you have, these are 10 of the most powerful mindset hacks that I help you get unstuck to move you in the direction that you are destined to be in. So number 1, I'm not good enough. Or am I good enough? Have you heard that? Number 2, fear. What if I fail? Oh my gosh, I can't do that. I just don't think I have what it takes. That's negative Nancy in your head, that negative ego. Number 3, money. Ooh, honey child, I don't have any money. I don't have enough resources. I don't know where it's going to come from, but you could find the money to get your nails done. You could find the money to get your hair done, whether you're getting extensions, whether you're a guy going to the barbershop, or whether you're putting dye, highlights, balayage, or whatnot. You find the money to do the things that you want to do, but you don't have the money to invest in yourself for personal and professional growth. That doesn't make any sense. 4, support system. My family and friends already told me that that's not going to work, so I don't even know why I'm trying it. But do your family and friends hold the keys for your destiny, or do you hold the keys for your own destiny? Because family and friends are going to be there, but they're not always going to be there every step of the way. 5, knowledge. Are you the SME, the SME, subject matter expert, or do you need to spend more time learning? Because we've all heard knowledge is power. So, what does that mean? That in order to be powerful, you need to learn. Learning is a constant process. And as you're learning, that gives you growth. 6, my career is stagnant. Why is your career stagnant? Are you allowing someone to place limitations on your career and telling you that you can't achieve the next level because they don't see certain things in you? But what do you see in you? How can you renew your career? I've been there. I went from an administrative assistant all the way up to trade regulations and compliance coordination, where people would say, once an admin, always an admin, in your books, not in my books. 7, negativity. How many times do we allow those pessimistic thoughts to play around in our head and allow our mind to be a battlefield? Joyce Meyer has a book called The Battlefield of the Mind because our mind is constantly going million miles per hour. So, where's the negativity? Will and emotions coming from? Is it coming from you? Is it coming from your family members and your friends and other people who have projected their insecurities onto you because they're afraid to do the very thing that you want to do? 8, who am I? Do you know who you are? Or do you know whose you are? Because if you don't know who you are, you're going to fall victim to what the world wants you to be, what your family members want you to be, what your friends want you to be, or even what your organization tells you you are. You aren't in a box. You need to get outside of that box and step outside of that comfort zone so you could be who you were created to be and know who you are, not who they want you to be. 9, where do I start? Where do I start? Oh my gosh, where's the starting line? Oh, there's so many things that I want to do. Well, newsflash, you have to get grounded. You have to silence all of the noise, all of the distractions, and get grounded. And when you get grounded and you solidify and be still, then you're able to see clearer. So you're able to have that clarity and see where the starting line is for you, not the starting line that someone else has already drawn, but where do you need to start so you could start walking into your destiny, so you could start unlocking some doors, so you could start living your life on your terms and how you perceive it. 10, not enough time. How many times have you told somebody, I don't have enough time to do that, but you have time to Netflix and chill? You have time to watch Hulu. You have time to go to the mall. You have time to play some music. Well, when are you going to make time for yourself? Self care is the best care. If you're not putting yourself first, then how are you going to ensure that you are a priority in your life? Sometimes we make everybody else a priority, but we fail to make ourselves a priority. And let me use this analogy to help you. You're traveling on the aircraft, right? There is a safety presentation, and they tell you, "Ear, put on your own mask first before you put on someone else's." That's a part of self care. And they're saying if you don't put on your mask first, how are you going to be good to help your spouse who may be traveling with you, your partner, your children, or etc.? If you don't have any oxygen, you're not going to have the ability to help your loved one put on their mask. So why not put on your mask first? So you do have time. You make time for what you want to make time for, but then you complain and cry when your life is not going the way that you want it to go because you spent so much time building up somebody else's dreams and empires while your dreams and empires suffered. And those are the 10 tips. If you want to learn more, you got to book a call with me. 15 minutes is a free consultation. 30 minutes is the max. And after that, I charge because this is my business.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And I love the fact that you had the time aspect as a part of one of those 10 because it's one that a lot of folks tend to really say less like, oh, I don't have the time. Well, the thing is, we all have the same amount of time. Like billionaires and homeless people have the same amount of time every week. It's just that what they do with their time is what really sets them apart, especially if they really plan ahead. So, yeah, definitely some folks better get that wonderful gift from the wonderful Genesis, y'all. Genesis got gifts, y'all. That's right. Shawty got gifts, y'all. That's right. Make you do mindset tricks. uh, but yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So since this is your not your first time on the guest side of the game on the microphone, is there a question that you wish you would be asked more often?
Not that I could think of because I like to be transparent in all that I do. And I think each question has a meaning behind it. And all questions are made to ask.
There you go. That's right, indeed. Cheesy pickup lines too, y'all. Let me stop. That's not a question. But hey, this question's definitely been fun. So if your particular book, Chocolate Drop, is a food item, since a lot of books are food for the mind, what would it be and why?
So the food for the mind, it would definitely be a steak because you definitely need to have your protein. And it's not just something that you could get cheaply. It's my experience. It's about me navigating through corporate, starting from the bottom, making my way up to the top. But while I'm at the top, still reaching down to like help and mentor other people while also remaining humble because sometimes people get to the top and they think that, hey, I've made it, I've arrived, but you still have to work at where you are. You can't just slacken off, and you can't just say, hey, even though I've made it, because you may have that fancy title and you may have the bells and the whistles, you may have the perks, that does not define you. Your morals, your values, and your characteristics and how you treat other people is what defines you, because that salary can come and go. Prime example, in the height of the pandemic, so many CEOs and people with high rank positions lost their jobs, or businesses as a whole were shut down. So, where are those people now? Some of them were boasting, they had to change their lifestyle. So, just because you have certain superficial things or you have certain materialistic things does not mean that those things are sustainable, because life happens. But who you are at the core is who you are. And that will take you a lot further in life than certain materialistic things. And not to sound vain or morbid here, but when each one of us is called home, you can't take any of that stuff in the casket with you. It's you, your body, and the clothes you have on your back if you choose to be buried in the earth or if you choose to be cremated. They're not going to put all that stuff with you. So, why do we make all this fuss and hoopla over materialistic things? Do materialistic things define us, or do we define us?
Ah, yeah, that's right. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Don't let the materialistic things define you, indeed. The only thing materialistic that should define you is a dictionary, y'all. That's right. That's right, indeed. So Like, yeah, Genesis Amaris Kemp, like best-selling author, visionary, mindset coach. Like, yeah, we'll go with that definition. And we're not even talking about the stuff that awaits in the future. So we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive, and that is if you're to wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but this time you're in the current year with all of your knowledge and experience, what advice would you give to yourself?
I would give myself the advice to always live life on my terms, live life optimally, and never go with what someone says because, a pair of lips will say anything, but always do your due diligence and really fact check yourself because sometimes when you are younger in life, you take what somebody says and you hold on to it and you run with it. Whenever what somebody says, if you would have just spent a little time and let it marinate and do your due diligence, you could really see if that advice was credible, if that feedback was something that was going to help you personally or professionally, or etc. Because, early on in my life, I was a victim of bullying in high school. And that also took me to the lowest point of my life where I went through depression because I was so busy worrying about what everybody else was saying. But thankfully, I had parents who instilled into me who I was and who Jesus saw me to be. And then that helped me pick myself up out of that dark place. And that's why the subtitle of my book is also From the Pit to the Palace, because sometimes you have to go to the pit in your life in order to appreciate the palace. And my palace is going to look something totally different than yours, Dom. But what is the palace? A palace, metaphorically speaking, could be your personal success. How do you see success? Not how the world sees success, but what is success to you? Is it, having your optimal health, living in a nice neighborhood, driving a nice car, or is it to make sure your family is healthy, you have your necessary needs met, and you have multiple streams of income and financially free? Everyone has their own version of a palace, but your palace should solidify you and not what the world is depicting success as.
Yeah, that's right. They define your own palace, y'all. That's right. Ain't just your mind palace either. Define your own palace, y'all. That's right. Not everybody can have Solomon's temple. Not even anybody today can have Solomon's temple. But hey, you can define your own palace indeed. And Loach said there, a pair of lips will say anything, y'all. That's right. So watch out for them lying lips out there, y'all. They may be lying down on somebody's face, waiting to try to trap you, y'all. That's right. That's right. They probably got a pillow too. They probably making that tongue their pillow, y'all. That's right. You don't want to do that. Definitely don't want to do that indeed. That's right. So for those who want to keep in magical contact with the wonderful Genesis herself and begin a wonderful journey, heck, maybe even a wonderful coaching experience, what advice, not advice, what, now I'm all tripping on my own darn words. So
How
for
can
those
they
who,
connect with me?
yeah, exactly, there we go, that's the word, yeah. Happy
So
Monday
for
to me.
no worries, have grace and mercy. So for those of you interested in connecting with me, Genesis Amaris Kemp, I am on Facebook and Instagram at Genesis Amaris Kemp. I'm also on those clubhouse streets at Genesis A Kemp and Twitter as Genesis A Kemp. And I also have a one tap, one app, Hello Briefcase, where all of my information is there. So that is thehello.llc /Genesis, GENESIS, Amaris, AMARIS, last name Kemp, KEMP, and Dom Brightman will put all of my information in the show notes. So there's no excuse for you not to get in connection and contact with me. I'm a person, you're a person. So let's not wait, let's have a conversation and see how we can add value to one another because it should be mutually beneficial, not just one-sided. Kick that Whiffum stuff to the curb. And if you don't know what Whiffum is, what's in it for me? It should be what's in it for we, because we're here to collaborate and complement, not compete.
Mic drop from the chocolate drop, that's what I'm talking about. They say iron sharpens iron, well, there's gold bar on top of gold bar, y'all. That's what I'm talking about indeed, y'all. That's right, she's dropped that heat, baby. That's right. So check out the wonderful link to all of our stuff in the show notes indeed. Subscribe to our podcast too. That's right, folks. Yours truly had the distinct honor to be on the wonderful show, dropping some wonderful gems, and definitely going to be catching that and tons of other great content from Genesis herself, because she's just getting started, y'all. It's only the freaking beginning. The chocolate is being spread everywhere, y'all. So any parting words before we close up shop, Genesis?
Yes, I'm going to leave your audience a quote from me, by me, that's in my book, Chocolate Drop in Corporate America. You got to grab the book, y'all. And there's also a cool discovery exercise in there called Who Am I? So stop wasting your valuable time with people who will never appreciate what you bring to the table or have to offer. That's also a part of setting up boundaries, y'all. You have to be mindful where you're spending your time, where you're planting the seeds, and who's planting those seeds. And then the last quote I'll leave you with is, stop waiting for someone to co-sign your dreams. Start running with passion. In time, the right people who genuinely care and want to support you will fall into place. So we have to pay attention. Who do we share our dreams with? Who are we allowing in our ear gate? What are we allowing our eyes to see, our eye gate? And who's a part of our tribe? Because people who are connected to you, are they connected with you because they're going to be with you from the bottom to the top? Or are they connected with you because of what you could give them and what you could do for them? Or are they just seasonal people, or are they lifetime people? And never confuse seasonal people for lifetime people, because sometimes we come into people's lives for a reason and other people come into our lives for a reason. And that may be a season for us to plant a seed while someone else comes along and fertilize it. Someone else comes along and water it. And once the assignment is up, that chapter is closed. So stop holding on so tight to people who you know you need to let go of, because they are not helping you. If anything, they're tearing you down, because maybe they're negative, they're gossiping, they always have drama, they're always bringing plex to your front door, they're trying to tell you about mess versus a message. And you don't need that toxicity in your life, but you need people who are going to see where you are, push you to get to your highest potential. They're going to call you out on your BS, which is your bullshiggity or bull crap, because they know that you have some amazing qualities to you and they don't want you to be stuck in a rut. Those are the type of people you need in your life. And you need those roof terrors. If you're not sure who the roof terrors are, I'm sure Dom could drop a segment in that in their show notes. Those are roof terrors, are someone who, they had a friend who was paralyzed. Their friend couldn't get in the house, but they saw their friend worthy enough where they climbed on top of the house, they cut a hole in the roof, and they lowered their friend down because their friend needed to get to Jesus. And when their friend got to Jesus, their friend was healed. He went from paralyzed to whole again. And because Jesus saw their friend's faith, Jesus healed his friends too, because he said, y'all weren't here for yourself, but you were here for your friend, because you cared so much about him that you wanted your friend to get whole and well. But I'm going to go ahead and hook you up and bless you too. So do you have those roof terrors in your life? And that's all I'm going to say. Don't pick my brain for free, but pick a price package. Hey.
How's it going, you super special awesome human? Since you made it to the end of this episode, it looks like you really enjoyed yourself. Since you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with at least 3 people in your network and tell them what you really liked about this episode.